Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today, we're going to look at a question that's been asked quite a lot in a lot of the recent videos we've put up, and also online, whether that be via Discord, Facebook, or other means of contacting me, and that is people looking for armies that are all monsters. Now, this question's come up in a multitude of different ways. It's come up from 40k players coming over that generally play Imperial Knights and are wanting a very low model count army with just a bunch of monsters. It's obviously come up as a question with people looking at the idea of Sons of Behemat and maybe ways to play other armies very similarly to them by playing just lots and lots of monsters, having a very, very low model count army with big pieces. And so today I thought I'd look at 5 armies in Warhammer Age of Sigmar that can run their armies as all monsters. This also might be great for those looking to get into the game that really want to play something like monsters, but maybe giants isn't your thing. And so we're going to look at 5 armies that can play entirely of monsters. That is the key thing here. These armies must be able to have an army nothing but monsters in them. So let's get looking. Our first army that can be run entirely as monsters is Ogor Mawtribes. So Ogor Mawtribes have the ability, when you start taking particular generals in your army, to have the big monsters that are ridden by the non-hero versions, the Beast Riders as they're known, to be taken as battle line options. And so you can have Huskguards and Frostlords as your characters and fill out your battle line with these Beast Riders, and they can be a multitude of different things. You have the Thundertusk and the Stonehorn as your 2 beasts, but once again you've got 3 variations for each kit. What's great about this is those models are particularly cheap in consideration to a lot of monsters out there or coming out more recently. Even in Australia they don't even rack up to $100, so they're pretty darn cheap. And what's cool is, even if you wanted to go outside of the generic monster area, you've got a lot of beast sort of things. So even your cavalry are these massive monstrous cavalry, and you've got all these monsters on foot, these much smaller, you know, the frost sabers and all that sort of stuff, so you can really push that massive monster aesthetic. What's also great about Ogor Mawtribes is that they're really easy to pick up and learn. This is a really simple army to play. They have not a limited playstyle, but they have an easy to learn playstyle about them, and they're also just a ton of fun on the table, both, and, well, ton of fun to paint them as well. There's a whole heap of stuff that's great about ogres. I could go on and on, but Ogor Mawtribes are definitely number 1 for an army to pick up if you want an all monster army. Number 2, we have the Seraphon. Seraphon are an amazing all monster army. I mean, what's not to love about dinosaurs riding even bigger dinosaurs? Seraphon have access to quite a different variety of all monster armies, and you can play with quite a few different monsters in the list. We have the Carnosaurs, the Troglodon, the Bastillodon, the Stegodons, which come in multiple different variations, and you even have Forge World models like the Dread Saurian. Seraphon just make for a great all monster army, and they have some special sub-allegiances that really push down and make you want to do this particular army in the Coalesced sub-faction, and they're a sub-faction of Coalesced known as the Thunder Lizards. These Seraphon monsters hit like a brick, and they really take a lot of killing and makes them just a great all monster army. They're not quite as low model count as some other all monster armies out there. The models generally range on that lower end of hero pointed models, around 250 to 350 points, a little bit cheaper than the previously mentioned Beastclaw Raiders or Ogor Mawtribes, but you can make some fantastic all monster Seraphon armies that will be really fun to play and pretty decently good on the tabletop as well. Number 3, where will we be without mentioning the actual all monster army, the only all monster army that has no other options of any way other to play than all monsters, the Sons of Behemat. Sons of Behemat are a relatively new army to Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and they're an army of Mega Gargants and their little smaller Man Crusher Gargant friends. The army is led by the Mega Gargants, who are the only characters within the force, and then you make up your forces built upon these smaller Gargants known as Man Crushers. The army is a ton of fun to play, and while it may seem on the surface that it actually isn't that great an army when you start looking at all the pieces, getting on the table, the Sons of Behemat play a lot better at the game of Warhammer Age of Sigmar than some people seem to think. They really do surprise you on the table, and don't let their low damage ratings on their weapons fool you. They have some fantastic abilities and will pack an absolute punch when used correctly. Sons of Behemat are a truly amazing army to put on the table. All the kits have so many bits and pieces to customize every single model to be utterly unique. This is probably one of the best things about Sons of Behemat that none of the others even come close to competing with, is just the amount of customization on all of the kits, whether that be the Man Crushers or the Mega Gargants. They just have so much customization options available. It makes a fun build and paint for the army, as well as playing them on the tabletop. Number 4, we have the Cities of Sigmar. Now, Cities of Sigmar actually have a few different variations you can do to make all monster armies. The one I've got pictured here is the all steam tank army, where you can take a steam tank character as your general, which allows you to unlock steam tanks as battle line, taking a whole army of steam powered tanks to fight in the wars of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. But I guess they're not really monsters, but I thought it'd be a great one to mention anyway. I mean, they've got the monster keyword, I believe. I might be wrong. Anyway, either way, it's awesome, but the real one you can play with is that you can play in Anvil Guard. You can take a Dreadlord on Black Dragon, who then can lead an army full of Hydras and Charybdis, which become battle line in the Cities of Sigmar Anvil Guard sub-allegiance. This allows you to play with some relatively cheap monsters, and it is quite a large all-monster army, all things considered, because the monsters only ranged at just under 200 points, not including the dragon, who's around 300. There's a whole bunch of fun things you can do. They have some cool Drake Blood curses you can add to make a little bit of difference between some of your monsters in the force, and it's always worth potentially maybe running a couple of dragons as well, as Cities of Sigmar does have quite a few cool character monster models, be that the Sorceress, the Dreadlord, or even a Frigil General on Griffin. Not forgetting they can also take Stormcast things like the Star Drake as well. Cities of Sigmar are a fun all monster army, although probably not one of the more competitive options in this list. Number 5, we have the Flesh Eater Courts, one of the most feared armies on the tabletop at one point in time, and still rightly feared. Terrorgeists are an amazing monster that hit like an absolute freight train. What's cool though is it doesn't have to be all Terrorgeists in a Flesh Eater Courts all monster army. You can mix in some zombie dragons there as well. You've got these great options of being able to take unmounted ones in particular sub-factions as battle line options, which allows you to take a whole army of flying bats and dragons, which is just amazingly awesome. They hit like a ton of bricks, and they are super competitive in the right circumstances, though maybe not quite as deadly as they once were. They've got a ton of rules that make them just so deadly. No matter what your opponent tries to do to them, they're going to put some hurt into your opponent. They can attack after they die, they can double pile in, they get always strikes first on the charge. This is just an amazing all monster army that just goes 100 miles an hour in aggro offense. Flesh Eater Courts are just a fun army to play, and you've got some really cool things you can do with them. In fact, even the All Monster Army has summoning as well, which allows you to cover your main weakness, which is bodies, by bringing on actual bodies. I count this as an All Monster Army because it starts off as all monsters and just puts other models on the table later in the game. And lastly, I wanted to give a special mention to Beasts of Chaos. Now, this army cannot be run all monsters properly. You cannot have any of your monsters become battle line in different options. However, by taking something like a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth or a Doom Bull, you unlock Bulgors and Dragon Ogres as battle line, which means you can have these demi monsters as your battle line. But the main thing with Beasts of Chaos that I think is really attractive for someone wanting to go with a monster heavy army is just the vast variety of monsters you can take within a Beasts of Chaos army. You have things like the Gorgon and Cygor you see here, to Jabberslaves, Cockatrices, Chaos Gargants, and more besides, and not to mention they can ally in with a bunch of other factions that do have some monsters of their own as well. For me, this is just a fantastic army to bring up some monsters on the table, as you can bring up a varied army of monsters. However, maybe this isn't the most competitive build for Beasts of Chaos, but it is a fantastic hobby project to go paint up a ton of awesome looking monsters that you can all bring together under the one banner. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, drop us a comment below on what you think makes a great All Monster Army. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine community, you can do so by coming and following the link in the description to our Discord server and coming over and having a chat. While you're on YouTube as well, please do go check out my featured channel section, where there's a bunch of other fantastic Warhammer Age of Sigmar content creators putting out all sorts of Warhammer Age of Sigmar related content, from battle tome reviews, battle reports, tactical analysis, lore videos, and more besides. Lastly though, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who supports the channel financially. Thank you to James, AJC, JC, Christian Weir, Philip Ward, Soren, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shot First, Chaos Spawn, and James Crowder. Thank you all so much for your support. If you'd like to help support the channel like these fine people do, you can do so by clicking on one of the links down below to either Patreon, Ko-fi, or YouTube members, and helping support the channel. Thank you all again for watching. Stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.